Hi, welcome everyone to today's demo-driven product webinar on Fiddler's industry-leading guardrails and our exciting new integrations with Amazon SageMaker AI and NVIDIA NeMo. Before we dive in, I wanted to share a few quick housekeeping items. Please take our poll questions on the screen that will appear on your screen throughout the webinar. You'll receive a link to the recording via email after we're done with this webinar this week. And if you have any questions, please submit them in the Q&A area and we'll answer them after the webinar. And please upvote any questions that you might want us to answer. And lastly, please deactivate any AI note takers. They will be removed from the webinar. So let me quickly introduce our speakers today. I'm Karen He, and I'm the Principal Product Marketing Manager at Fiddler AI. And I'll be joined by William Hahn, our Senior Product Manager, who leads our GenAI Observability, and Ash Cortez, our Senior Solutions Engineer. Here's what we're going to cover today. We'll discuss the current state of the AI market and the challenges enterprises are facing. Then we'll introduce Fiddler Guardrails, the industry's fastest guardrail solution. And we'll explore our integrations with NVIDIA NeMo Guardrails integration and Amazon SageMaker AI integration. And we'll include live demos shown by my colleagues. And finally, we'll cover the Q&A portion at the end to address any specific questions that you may have. AI adoption has hit an inflection point with 72% of organizations now using AI in at least one business function. The economic impact is projected to be hitting estimated 15.7 trillion to the global economy by 2030. And from a business case perspective, 91% of leaders are seeing positive ROI from AI investments, while 30% of leaders plan to invest $50 to $200 million in GenAI in 2025. And 68% of Fortune 500 companies are adopting GenAI tools. However, despite the growing enthusiasm, Gartner reports that 30% of AI projects will be abandoned after proofs of concept. And key barriers include quality and safety concerns, poor data quality, inadequate server security and risk controls, escalating costs, and unclear business value, which creates significant roadblocks realizing full ROI from these AI investments. So Fiddler AI and observability and security fills these gaps, by addressing with our comprehensive platform. So let me introduce the all-in-one observability and security platform. So there are three pillars, and at the core of it is the Fiddler Trust Service that powers guardrails, LLM monitoring, and agentic monitoring. And on the LLM and ML monitoring side, we track performance, model drift, custom metrics, and alerts. And we also provide root cause analysis, deep diagnostics, and 3D UMAP for analytics. So let me walk through a deeper dive into our architecture. So you can see that Fiddler Trust Service powers or platform captures prompts and responses, metadata, and modeled inputs. Once it goes through, the Fiddler Trust Service enables us to observe and monitor over 50 metrics to help customers understand how their AI applications are performing in powering solutions like guardrails or ML and LLM monitoring and agentic monitoring. And this platform is deployed in a secure cloud MVC deployments, which means that data does not leave the customer's environment. And just to recap, as I mentioned earlier, from the LLM monitoring perspective, we deliver 50 LLM metrics and any custom metrics that you may need for your domain-specific use cases. And these metrics are supported by Fiddler Trust models, empowering guardrails, and we also provide the LLM as a judge approaches. And from the ML monitoring side, we provide performance metrics, data integrity metrics, drift and fairness metrics that combined provide 30 out-of-the-box metrics. Right now, I'll pass it over to Will, who will talk about Fiddler Guardrails.
Hey Karen, thanks for talking about the Fiddler Trust Service and the trust model. So I'm really excited to talk about the Fiddler Guardrails. So Fiddler Guardrails is built upon the Fiddler Trust Service. Um, Fiddler Guardrails can proactively detect and mitigate risks such as hallucination and safety violations and prompt injection attacks. Like Karen talked about the Fiddler Trust models, these guardrails leverage the Fiddler Trust models, which are a set of proprietary small language models that Fiddler builds in-house. So this image here is an example of a chatbot that we deploy on our documentation website to answer questions about our product. It uses our guardrails offering to protect against problematic inputs and guard against hallucinations on every inference to and from your LLMs. So why Fiddler Guardrails? Why use us? Fiddler's guardrails are fast, with industry-leading latencies of under 100 milliseconds, are cost-effective, up to 18x cheaper than other guardrailing options, and are highly accurate. These are small language models tuned specifically to the task at hand. So let's walk through each of these qualities one by one and talk about why they're important. First, latency. The difference between 500 milliseconds versus 1 second versus 2 seconds latency is a significant difference in user experience. As I'm sure you guys are all aware, we live in a world in which users are expecting snappy responses. Anything with a noticeable latency incurs, a decrease in user experience. So you want your guardrails to have minimal impact on your overall latency. And this especially matters if you're building user-facing agents with multiple steps. Each step in the agent compounds latency, and you want to make sure that your guardrailing time doesn't have a significant overhead over your LLM calls. So latency is a very important factor for a lot of our customers. Second, cost. For a lot of enterprises at enterprise scale with millions and millions of events, you don't want to be paying a big multiplier on top of your inference cost. If you're using LM as a judge, you'd be paying additional, you'd be incurring additional token costs every time you make an LM call. And this bloats out your inference cost. A lot of our customers who, before using Fiddler Guardrails, were only comfortable guardrailing specific parts of their application, maybe the output, if they're building very complex agents. But now with Fiddler, because of the cost benefits that they're getting, wherein guardrails would only incur additional 0.5% to 1% or even less, are using guardrails everywhere in their application. They feel comfortable gating every step in their agents. And lastly, the accuracy. We're continuously invested in ensuring that we have the best possible LLM metrics offering for our customers to use in guardrails or observability. We've updated both the models twice in the last 6 months and have another model update next week. We're keeping up with the latest challenges in the industry and with our enterprise customers. And what that means is we're going to continue to improve our models. These models are going to be the best in class for detecting these problems. They're going to have low false positive rates so that they don't impact your end customer and guardrail things that maybe shouldn't be guardrailed. And they're also going to be able to detect the latest and emerging threats in the industry. So with all three of these value propositions, the reason why we're able to deliver on these is our approach to building these models, using small language models that are under 1 billion parameters, specifically tuned to this task, which means that these models can focus on getting really, really good at one or very few things, instead of trying to be a generalist accomplishing many things. And because they're small, the inference times are much less, which means that you get more throughput out of our models, and of course, the latency benefits. And these models can run on much smaller GPUs, even the cheapest GPUs that AWS has to offer, which means we're able to pass on those cost benefits to you. Or if you're a VPC customer, you're able to drastically easily manage your cost footprint for your LLM applications. So you get all of these amazing model characteristics in an enterprise setting. So we can deploy a dedicated guardrails instance right in your VPC. So you don't have to worry about your data going to external services. You don't have to worry about it going to OpenAI if you're using LLMs to judge. And this is table stakes for some of you in the audience in regulated industries. You can't afford to have some of the most sensitive customer data leave your premises. We've got you covered. Since we own the model, you get that flexibility from us. We've also designed our guardrails to be as simple as possible. That means that not only can you fit it into any application that you have, but we can easily create native integration points with whatever orchestration platforms you're using, whether it's LangGraph, LangChain, Bedrock Agents, or any other orchestration platform. We're committed to ensuring that you can leverage our guardrails in a simple, seamless manner, and we want to meet you where you are. An example of an integration that we're able to enable is something like the NeMo Guardrails integration. So NeMo Guardrails is a framework from NVIDIA that a lot of enterprises are starting to use that allows enterprises to flexibly invoke as a gateway many different LLMs and also use various guardrailing options. We've seen a lot of these enterprises adopt these NeMo frameworks, so we've decided to build an out-of-the-box integration with NeMo Guardrails where you're able to leverage Fiddler's Guardrails on top of the NeMo Guardrails framework. It's really, really easy to use, and I'll show you guys how that works later on in the demo. If you're excited about all these qualities and you're excited about Fiddler's Guardrails, just like I am, we have a free tier offering that you're able to use today. So if you go to the website fiddler.ai/free guardrails, you can get your API key. You can start protecting your LLM applications. You're limited to 200 API requests per day. You're able to use the guardrails offering to detect hallucinations and toxicity and jailbreak attempts. There's developer documentation, a guided walkthrough, and we want this offering to be as simple as possible to use for developers out there. And I'll walk through what exactly that looks like in a moment. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to give a quick demo of both the trial, the NeMo Guardrails, and our guardrails itself. All right. So this is the first page that you see when you log into the free experience. You can look at your limits, right? You can look at the usage, and then, any other documentation like our Slack channel, where we provide hands-on support. You're free to join that Slack channel, and also reach out to us via these links. So we have two types of models here, or two types of guardrails. So the first set of guardrails is for detecting hallucinations. So this is using a metric called faithfulness. So what this will do is in RAG context, it will check if the response generated uses the context documents, to create the judge, to generate the response. This generates a single float score. The second set of model is for detecting toxicity and jailbreaks. So there's many different dimensions. There's 10 different dimensions of that this model does check, including jailbreak, harmful content, racism, sexism. Anything that you're worried about from the user's perspective, sending data into Fiddler, we have you covered. So, let me just explain to you how this works. So we want it to be as few lines as possible. So we kind of expanded things out, but you can certainly collapse this into less lines if you so wish. So you have the token, which is your API key up here. You can generate an API key, and then you have your URL, and then you send your payload, which is just like a JSON, input output into the model itself. You set the authorization, and then send the request. So if you're familiar with this kind of flow for integrating other APIs, this is supposed to be very, very straightforward to do. And once you get the response out from the model, you can choose to block it. So you have fine-grained control over the model outputs themselves, which is really nice. If you have specific use cases wherein you want the guardrails threshold to be higher, or specific guardrail use cases where you're a little lax, and you worry about toxicity and hallucination a little less. And it's an example of some customers who care about that is in financial industries when there's a much lower tolerance for these risks. They may set these thresholds um, much higher in order to make sure that less things are coming through. And with threshold setting, if you set it too high, you get like a slightly higher chance of false positive, and that's a trade-off that we work with our customers to make sure that they thoroughly understand. And then, if you don't want to integrate it with you don't want to write your code, you can also use NeMo Guardrails. So again, like we try to make it as simple as possible to use our offering and integrate it with wherever you're at. So with NeMo Guardrails, you just have to create this very simple file and just set some fields. And then you set this like API key on the command line. And then, you're good to go. It's really, really straightforward to use. So I'm going to show you guys right now what exactly this looks like. I have a couple sample curl requests that I have on Postman to just demonstrate what exactly this looks like. Okay. So here I have our faithfulness model or faithfulness guardrail that I'm testing here. So I just want to show you guys like what kind of nuance that our faithfulness model can detect. So in this example, the context that's being passed in the RAG use case is that the Yorkshire Terrier is a small dog breed of the terrier type, and the King Charles Spaniel is a small spaniel classified as a toy dog. And the question is whether or not these two dogs are what kind of dogs that they are. And the response that the LLM is generating, from the application is that these two dogs are small breeds of companion dogs, which isn't true, right? Like the Yorkshire Terrier is a terrier, and then the other dog is a toy dog. So if we send it into our guardrails for detection, you get this faithfulness score that's low, which indicates that this is a hallucination score. This is a hallucination, and then you also get the guardrails, which happen in 100 milliseconds. And then, the other set of guards. So you can tell, right? Like this guardrails, it catches some pretty nuanced stuff. Like, even small changes in language, it can detect it and say, hey, this is a hallucination. And then the other set of models that we have is our safety model. And this is to prevent users from the LLM, prevent the LLM and protect it from processing dangerous items, right? So, in this case, I have it just say, hey, I'm a dangerous person who will be wreaking havoc upon the world. Of course, you can type in more nefarious things like poisoning, like bomb threats, like sexual, harmful, racist things. And this model will pick it up. And, I definitely suggest that you guys try this and see what happens. So the response happened in 90 milliseconds, and you get a lot of these scores, right? A lot of these dimensions, whether it's harmful, unethical, violent, jailbreaking, you get the score breakdowns. And that's really nice because maybe you care about one or a few dimensions. You certainly have the flexibility to do so. And like I mentioned, you get the floats, right? You get the actual scores. So that means that if you have like certain tolerances for certain applications, you can use that, right? You could set it and you have that configurability and steerability built right into the guardrails offering. So that's what the guardrails look like. I want to show you guys kind of the whole story, right? So I've actually set up the NeMo Guardrails integration. Let me just pull it up here. And what this integration is they have a chat feature that comes out of the box with NeMo Guardrails. So I just wanted to quickly show you guys what that looks like. You select your configuration file and I can say like, hi, right? Hello, how are you doing? And then I can say, I'm a dangerous person, I have a bomb, I'm going to own the world. And then, that response is pretty snappy, right? So if you have like a higher overhead, like higher latency overhead, right? Like users can feel that the response is slower, right? There's like a noticeable impact on the user behavior. Like that was really snappy. And I was running the guardrails, right? Like 3 sets of guardrails. So I was running guardrail on the input, I was running the guardrail on the output, and I was running our hallucination guardrails. So that's three guardrails that I was running sequentially. So 300 milliseconds, like that didn't really feel like it affected the user behavior, like the user flow to you, right? As you're watching this, as you're going through this, didn't seem to affect it that much, right? It seemed pretty snappy. And that's why the latency really matters, because if things take long, you start to notice it, you start to notice the slowness, you start to notice the speed, like it impacts the user behavior, and it could lead to user drop off in your application. So, going back to my slides, um, so just to recap, right? Come try and experience the fastest guardrails in the industry. Come try and experience the best guardrails in the industry with sub 100 milliseconds response time that are cost effective, that are enterprise scale, that are accurate, that are secure. Um, this is available out of the box. Just come get an API key. Start protecting your LLM applications. The guardrails includes 200 requests per day. Again, guardrails for hallucination detection and jailbreak and toxicity detection. And if you're interested in maybe moving on and using this for your enterprise, please give us a call. We'd love to help support you in your generative AI journey. Thank you.
Thanks, Will, for sharing the Guardrails, Fiddler Guardrails demo and the NVIDIA NeMo Guardrails. All right, so let me share with you the Amazon SageMaker integration. We're proud to announce that Fiddler is a strategic partner with Amazon SageMaker, and this integration was announced in the last year's reInvent in December. Back in December, in Dr. Swami Siva Subramanian's keynote. This is a fully managed solution which includes purchasing, licensing, provisioning, support, and billing, all within the SageMaker AI environment, creating a truly seamless experience. So for SageMaker AI customers, this means that you have Fiddler as a trusted enterprise observability and security platform for ML workloads that are rapidly deployed and scaled within SageMaker. And it gives you a seamless experience and complete privacy and security within your AWS environment. You can access Fiddler directly within the SageMaker AI Partner AI application via the SageMaker AI Studio. And you can see a quick experience from the screenshot here. So with further ado, now Ash will show you the SageMaker AI integration. Ash, over to you.
So now we're going to show you how you can launch your own instance of Fiddler AI directly from SageMaker. So for those of you who are familiar with SageMaker or already using SageMaker as part of your AI development, you will definitely recognize this screen. So, here we are in the main panel, and on this left-hand panel, you're going to go ahead and look at the partner AI apps. This is a new area for Amazon. And in here, you'll see the 4 different apps that were announced just last November. That includes us here at Fiddler, and you can just simply click into view details. From here, you're going to need to go into the marketplace to subscribe. We'll go ahead and click on that. And then from here, you can go ahead and do our free option. We have a free trial option for 30 days. Click on that, and this will begin to launch a subscription for you within your AWS marketplace. From here, we just want to make sure that we have selected the free trial option. You can also do the non-free trial option from there. Scroll down and go ahead and click subscribe. This will generate your subscription within the AWS marketplace. Now, remember, once the subscription is generated, you still have not yet deployed your Fiddler environment. So you can see the status not deployed. So the next step for us is to actually configure the environment. So once you have the status of the subscription updated, you can configure now. This is where we'll enter a couple key pieces of information, such as an app name, Fiddler free trial for us. And then you'll also want to choose an app maintenance window that makes sense for your purposes. For us, in the middle of the night on a Saturday makes the most sense. And then, of course, make sure your STS identity propagation is selected as well. Make sure you add an admin for management. You can add 1, but you can also add up to 5 in total, and then select next. Make sure you're choosing your IAM role. And then click next as well. From here, we'll go ahead and confirm the app version. For now, we only have one app version, so this SM Fiddler 1.0 is the correct one for you. That's expected. And then make sure you make a selection for your tier. For us, we'll just start small. But I just want to keep in mind that although the Fiddler trial is free, there may still be some monthly processing cost related to processing your events. This will be for up to 1 million events across 5 models. That's your estimated monthly processing cost. Go ahead and select next. And then make sure to verify all of the information you've entered, and then simply hit deploy. So with that, you're able to deploy your Amazon within your Amazon SageMaker environment, very quickly be able to launch an instance of Fiddler AI. So from here, I'll go ahead and show you what Fiddler AI actually looks like. We'll go ahead and switch here. This is an example of our instance here at Fiddler of a demo environment for all of the models that we have within our Fiddler, our version of our Fiddler platform. Fiddler is really meant to be a single pane of glass for all of your ML models in one place. So your entire organization can keep all of your models here, track the projects, and even track the different events that are happening. You can see here that we cover all different types of ML models. In this case, we have a churn classifier, a binary classifier, head-over regression. We also have a clothing classifier. This represents a computer vision classifier, as well as NLP and other types of traditional ML models that are available for you within the SageMaker environment. From here in this monitoring summary, you can see when the last event was propagated within here, and then take a look quickly at the level of traffic that you have going on for each of the different models that you're monitoring. And then from here, you can quickly click in and see the insights. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at an example from bank churn, which is a binary classifier model example. And I'll show you what a dashboard that you can gain from Fiddler looks like. So for this example, we have a model, like I said, a binary classifier, in which we are predicting the likelihood of a customer to churn for our fictional bank. Now, in this case, you can see that we have a fully populated dashboard already shown for you here today. But what I want to emphasize here is how customizable this is, how you can rearrange these and make sure that you're building these dashboards for even different personas. So because of that, you can have multiple dashboards and insights for different models. So in this case, I actually made a dashboard that was geared a little bit more towards, a business executive mindset. And so you can see that we have things such as revenue impact by state, decision distribution, things that might be a little bit more important to somebody who's looking from that perspective, as opposed to a machine learning engineer who's actually working on the model. But of course, we have examples for both in this particular dashboard here. In this, you can make several different types of charts. Now, one of the chart types that we have is called a model scorecard. This is a way for us to see some, primary KPIs really quickly and give you that high-level view right as you're looking up and opening up your dashboard right away. In this case, we have some of the common performance metrics that I'm sure you folks are familiar with if you're building ML models today. F1 score, precision, recall. Of course, all of those more, common types of metrics are built into right in the box. On the right-hand side, we have an example of revenue impact by state. So me as a business-minded person, of course, I'm going to be interested by revenue impact. And for this example, I can see that we have some anomaly happening here to the right. I want to explain a little bit more how we actually got these insights and this particular chart into this Fiddler platform in the first place. Because what I really want to emphasize is that we're not just looking at the different information that you're bringing for your features and metadata. We're also able to further segment those and create custom metrics and segments in order to gain deeper insights that are easily understandable from the users within this UI experience. So let me go ahead and I'll switch over to the projects and I'll click into the spake churn. This maps to the model that actually populates that dashboard that we were showing before. We'll click onto the churn classifier. For now, we only have one version of this example, but I want to emphasize that you can have multiple versions as you're improving your different models or using them for different use cases. In this case, when we pushed in the information for this churn classifier, we had several different features, maybe not much by industry standards, but you can go ahead and organize that very simply as well. We have our output, which is the probability churn. And then we also have our target, which is churn, and then a couple of metadata, which might be useful for gaining additional insights. In this case, we only have one example of metadata, and that's gender. And I'll show you how we can use that to see some advanced metrics and understanding what is actually happening with the model that we've created. Now, to take this even further, we're actually going to show you how you can create custom metrics based upon these inputs, outputs, and metadata. So I can go ahead and click over onto this tab here, Custom Metrics, to show you what are the custom metrics that we've created so far. For us, you can see that we have a couple of different industry standard, at least for those in financials, different metrics that we wanted to bring into the platform for us to measure. Things such as equal opportunity true positive rate, group benefit, disparate impact, things that are maybe very important for us to understand if we have bias in our model. And that's something that's really important for us as we're using something such as Fiddler AI in order to make sure that we're creating models that don't have bias and are impacting all of our users in a safe and fair way. We also have some additional metrics such as total revenue impact, which this is the custom metric that helped populate that particular graph that I was showing earlier. Now you can take these custom metrics and you can continue to segment them out further so that you can get more granular insights, so that you're not just looking at metrics from that global view, but also taking a look at a more nuanced view by looking at each different segment. In this case, we have a couple of different segments that we've created. Has no CC, has credit card, male, female, non-binary customers. So that's gender. That's where that gender marker came in. And then where we were showing you earlier, these different states that were important for us. And this is the segments that help populate that graph. And we'll go back there in a second to show you how these custom metrics and custom segments are used. If you want to create a new segment, it's quite easy. You can go over here to the top right-hand corner and click on to add segments. You simply add in a name, a description, and then you define your segment here and save. You can do this in multiple places so that your workflow isn't interrupted and you can continue to build out your graphs and charts without any issues. So now that we're here and we've seen where the custom metrics and segments come from, I'll go ahead and click back into our dashboard. And you can do that in this upper right-hand corner by clicking back onto Insights. This is going to load that same dashboard that we showed you earlier today. And here's that graph that I was discussing, those different custom segments and that custom metric total revenue impact that I was describing earlier. Why don't we go ahead and click into this particular graph to understand what this chart is telling us at a little bit deeper level. Now, these charts are fully interactive. I can take a look at these different options. I can switch these to a line graph if that's something that's easier for you. In this case, I'm going to switch the Hawaii customers, because this is the one that's out, into a line graph so that I can show the difference a little bit more clearly, at least for me. We could also do a comparison to, previous weeks or previous months, showing on a rolling basis so that we can see what the differences are over time. And we can see that this dip in Hawaii is definitely out of normal, because typically it stays above the 0 line and we have a positive revenue impact. So we really want to start digging into, why is it that we have this negative total revenue impact? I'll go ahead and click this away to clear this up. We can also switch the bin size. So if I'm more interested in understanding this at a higher level, I can reduce this to see, hey, is this happening on a weekly basis, or is this happening more recently, such as this hour, which may be a lot to view upon first viewing, but we can, of course, take this zoom icon and take a deeper look and spread it out so that we can better understand it from here. These are just some different ways in which this graph is interactive. And of course, you can scrub over time to understand how it's going. We can also see that there was some negative impact for Hawaii earlier in the month as well. But I'm going to focus in on this bigger, more consistent negative revenue, total revenue impact first. I'll go ahead and reset the view and return it back to 1 day for more simplicity. And then I want to go ahead and I'm going to click on a specific data point so that I can see a little bit further what's going on here. If I scroll down, now that I've clicked on a specific data point, I've opened up this root cause analysis view. And you can see it's only selected data from that data point that I clicked into. So instead of just looking at all of the global data, I have now very quickly looked into a very interesting segment. So you can see all of this is related to the geography of Hawaii, since that's the data point that I clicked. Now I'm interested in taking a look on what's going on here, but for me, the pattern isn't quite showing up yet, and looking at it in this event log. Maybe I can figure out what's going on a little bit more by clicking on to this Analyze tab. Now, there's not going to be a visual generated right away, but I can go ahead and click onto this Add Chart. Let's see if I can discover something by looking at some feature distributions. By adding a feature distribution chart, this chart again is only going to be applied the segment of information that I clicked on earlier when I clicked on that particular point. Now, I have some suspicions, but I'm going to go take a look at the probability churn distribution at first. Not much insights quite yet, but maybe I can look at it by looking at some high impact features. Now, for me, as someone who's familiar with this data, I can see that there's an interesting disparity between the distribution of the number of products. So I'm going to go ahead and note that and decide to explore more. I'll close out of this particular chart that's only focused on revenue impact, and maybe take a look at some of the other charts that are in our dashboard to see if that lends us further clues into what's exactly happening. We could take a look at the accuracy by state, and I can see that the accuracy for Hawaii has really dropped out of line with our expectation with that 0.8 average that we've seen historically. I can also see that it's wavered in past dates as well. So maybe there's something that's going on when we've made a model change. When I go ahead and look to the left, I'll take a look at our prediction drift to see if that could potentially be related. And indeed, I am seeing some data drift happening in this particular aspect for probability churn. This is for the overall. The blue is showing for Texas, and the yellow specifically for California customers. Now, for the overall, because I'm seeing this drift, I may be curious to see if this is affecting a certain subsection of our data more specifically. I'm going to go ahead and click in to open our root cause analysis view in order to gain some better insights. Now, again, here are all of the events that are related, and maybe I can glean a pattern from that. But what I'm more interested in is understanding this data drift a little bit better. Here we can see that we do have some data drift. Now let's go ahead and organize this quickly by descending order. And there seems to be the culprit. 70.55% drift impact is happening in our number of products. That's a huge difference than what we're expecting. And this, of course, is going to have a significant impact on our prediction because we have our feature impact of 26.47%. We can click into here and take a look at that distribution of these values. And once again, we can see that our values are a little bit out of whack. Here we can see that we're getting a much higher number of the number of products as compared to our baseline shown in blue. And even more drastically shown when the number of products is greater than 3.5. Now, how did we actually get to this? Where did the baseline come from? When we went and updated and inputted the information from our model, that was the time where we can create different baselines. And you can select the different baselines in which we're comparing right here within this chart without leaving. Now, let's say I wanted to look at a rolling baseline of 1 month. This will quickly re-show that. Again, if it's showing the same drift, but this is the way that you can select the various baselines. And if you're curious, here's the metrics that we're using in order to calculate that data drift. It's either a selection between Jensen-Shannon distance or population stability index. These are the two options that we have in our platform today. You can go ahead and reselect it, and it'll update the view immediately. Now that we've understood where that drift is coming from, we can go ahead and take this information back to our engineering teams to see if we can troubleshoot and resolve this in our next sprint. So this is just a high-level view and one example of how Fiddler can be used in order to troubleshoot and find the actual instance of why something is happening in your model. So not just that something is happening, but moving on to understand what is the root cause using our root cause analysis view, and also being able to understand how these things affect specific segments using custom metrics in particular. And you're able to do all of this in just a few clicks within the Fiddler AI. So that concludes the demo for the Fiddler AI environment from SageMaker. I'll pass it back to you, Karen.
Great. Thank you so much, Ash, for sharing the SageMaker integration demo. All right. So before we go into the Q&A, I just wanted to quickly share the Fiddler Guardrails free tier. So you can now try Fiddler Guardrails in our free tier and try out the guardrails for your LLM applications. And if you want to learn more about the Fiddler Trust Service, we also have a link for you in a QR code for you to read more about the Fiddler Trust Service and how you can apply for your LLM applications. Okay, so let's start off with the Q&A. I see some questions in the Q&A chat box. And if you have any questions, whether it's on Fiddler Guardrails, NVIDIA NeMo integration, and the SageMaker integration, feel free to put it in now. I'll invite the other speakers, Will and Ash, to the Q&A. So the questions that are coming in here. Let's see here. Can we also extend the safety guardrails to support question context relevance? For example, if we create a food recipe LLM, we will want it to answer a question about coding. Will, can you answer this question?
Yeah. So context relevance is a little bit different from faithfulness or safety. Where in context relevance is checking if the response is on the same topic or on the same wavelength as the input, the prompt, or the context that's passed in. So we're actually working on another model, like a specific model for doing context relevance in the same vein and same architecture as the other trust models. That should be coming soon. So looking forward to it. We're going to continue evolving these models and adding new capabilities, which is exciting. It will hopefully serve customers like yourselves. So.
Great. The other question we have here is, what specific training is needed to train the hallucination prevention model? How long does it take?
Yeah, so our models are pre-trained. They're not, you don't have to train them. We deploy a pre-trained model out of the box for you. Now, we do certainly offer the ability to fine-tune these models. Certain, like our enterprise customers and our enterprise plan, we offer the ability to fine-tune their models to their specific domain. If that's something that interests you, we certainly suggest customers to first try the current model and see where the gaps are. And we work with our customers to maybe like improve the models to address those gaps. But there are certain scenarios and edge cases where a model retrain doesn't change it and it instead requires a fine tune. And that's something that we've been doing manually for our customers as we roll out our fine tuning functionality soon. So, yeah.
Great. The other question we have here is, can I detect possible hallucination as a deviation from previous behavior?
Yeah, so there's two ways to do this. If you want this in a guardrailing, capability, we would say, the guardrails themselves are stateless, so they're not affected by the previous invocations of the guardrails. If you want something that's, that learns, we're gonna have to ask you to go through the fine-tuning route. But in an observability point of view, right? You can also observe deviations, and we offer a whole slew of tools on our observability platform for you to be able to identify general trends, right? Maybe somewhere in the ML world, if hallucination score is going up or going down, going sideways, you're going to be able to see that in our observability offering. So to recap, two ways. One is if you want the guardrails to learn, fine tuning is the way that to go about this, for enterprise customers. And then the other route is observability, and that works out of the box.
Great. Okay, we've got one more question. Can you share more about the NVIDIA NeMo integration? How is Fiddler Guardrails different from NeMo Guardrails?
Yeah, so NeMo Guardrails is an orchestration layer for guardrails. So think of it as like a guardrails aggregator. So it's like a platform that helps customers use their guardrails, not necessarily, and they have some guardrails out of the box that use LM as a judge. So things like OpenAI. And they also have some models that you can use in some other partner customers that you can use on their platform as well. Fiddler Guardrails is the guardrail service, right? So you give us an input, we give you back the scores. And how that fits within the NeMo Guardrails ecosystem is you can think of NeMo Guardrails as a gate that includes a bunch of guardrails. What'll happen is you can specify the guardrails that you want. You say, hey, I want Fiddler, I want it on the inputs, or I want Fiddler, I want safety on the outputs. You can do that. And what NeMo Guardrails will do is it'll call our guardrails on your behalf. So there's very little code that you have to write. And for Fiddler, we're the only enterprise solution for detecting safety and hallucination. We're deployable. We're the only option. We're the only partner with NeMo and NVIDIA that you can use our guardrails in like an enterprise secure fashion. And we're also the cheapest and the fastest option, available on NeMo, sub 100 milliseconds, and the cost benefits compared to LMS judge options or other hosted options that NeMo provides. So we're really excited that we can partner with NVIDIA to deliver these deliver our guardrails in a convenient form factor for our customers. So give us a twirl and see what happens.
Great. Thank you so much, Will. And thank you, Will and Ash, for sharing the integrations, Fiddler Guardrails, SageMaker, NVIDIA NeMo integrations. Thank you so much. And for just to wrap up, we do have the Fiddler Guardrails free tier. You can go and sign up. There's a link here in the QR code. Like Will said, give us a try and then test it out for your LM applications. And if you want to learn more of Fiddler Trust Service, there is also a link for you to read more about how Fiddler Trust Service powers guardrails, LLM monitoring, and agentic monitoring. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.